No, 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 no. I already told you for the sixth time. This is not. How can you be so stupid? When was the last time you got so angry and said something hurtful that you wish you could take it back? Hi, my name is Isaac, and today I would like to share with you a method I came up with called being angry before you are really angry that has helped to manage myself in such situation. Now, what situation am I talking about? It's a situation where you are working or dealing with someone, you're trying to get them to do something, but for some reason they are either forgetting it, delaying it, or procrastinating for whatever. And it is during that time that we try to be very, very patient, we try to be very calm, we try to be nice. And after several episodes of this, when we meet them, we just blow our top and really lash out at them. And for some of us, as we reflect on it, we realize that perhaps we shouldn't have used those words because it's very cutting. Let me start by a story about my friend. So I was having lunch with this friend of mine a couple of days ago, and she was sharing how she's very frustrated with herself because she seems to be failing at being a good mother. Now, my friend is a very task-oriented person, whereas her daughter is a lot more chilled, more laid-back kind of personality. So usually what happens is she would remind her daughter to do something, and her daughter will drag her feet or will forget it or will have some kind of excuses. And after several reminders, she will just blow her top, shout at the daughter, and then she will feel a sense of regret. When I asked her what happens because of the scolding, she would tell me that her daughter actually gets things done. But she feels bad because she knows the words that she has said is going to remain in the daughter for a long time. And she was sharing how even as she was growing up, while her parents are nice people, a lot of the words they used on her still sticks till today. And I think you and I are able to relate to such scenarios. So here's the irony. On one hand, the act of anger got the person into action, but on the other hand, it's during the anger that we tend to say things that we wish we would have said because it's very cutting. So being angry before you are really angry is an approach I came up with from my own experiences in life, where I'm able to reap the benefit of anger without administering the sting of harsh words. Now let me share a bit of background on why this works. Research in neuroscience have shown that memory recall and intense emotional experience are linked, which means the more intense the experience, the easier for us to recall the memory, which is why it is easy to understand that we can always remember our best and worst experiences in life. When a person is angry with us, what happens is our brain registers that intense emotion. This is helpful because whenever a person prioritizes things in their minds or thinking of what to be done, the intense emotion of the session that we got would get the person to remember what has happened. So in that sense, anger helps the person to remember. Now, how then do we reduce or remove the harsh words that we may use? For that, there are two things that we need to consider. The first one is we need to look at anger differently. We need to change our mindset at how we look at anger. Most of us look at anger as a negative emotion, and as a negative emotion, we associate it with bad. Because most of us believe we are good people and good people don't do bad things, we subconsciously try to avoid being angry because that's not who we are. Because of that, what happens is whenever we start to feel angry, we try to suppress it by denying it, saying that I'm not angry, or downplaying it, saying that I'm not so angry. Anger is like a pressure cooker. The more you deny it, the greater the pressure grows. And when the pressure has reached its limit, that's where our emotion consumes us and we say hurtful things. So instead of seeing anger as a bad emotion, what we want to do is to see anger as an indicator of how in control we are of our emotion. And that allows us to control our emotion better because we see it as an indicator. You think of a speedometer. So that's the first thing. The second thing we need to consider is understanding our trigger. right? So trigger is the thing that makes us react in a conversation. In general, there are two kinds of triggers: visual triggers and verbal triggers. Visual triggers is, for example, a person standing in front of us, a facial expression. So for some of you could relate with the fact that when a person gives you that smug look or that condescending look, it triggers us and we feel the need to get back at them. In a work scenario, what I find is we need to be more aware of the verbal triggers that goes on. This means the kind of words and phrases that people say that will get us to be very reactive, and what that does is when we are reactive, our emotion takes over. So let me share with you my personal example. One of the verbal triggers that used to have an impact on me is this phrase, "you don't really know what you're saying." And there were a few client meetings earlier in my life where whenever somebody say, "Isaac, you don't really know what you're saying," it kind of got me into a mode of I might show to them that I know. And usually the meeting ends up bad. So today I'm a lot more cautious, and by knowing my trigger, what it does is it gets me to pause, be conscious of the choices of word, and pick the right word. So how do I combine all this in a applicable way whenever we are in that scenario? So for being angry before you're really angry, there are 3 steps that I will usually tell people what to do. The first is to manage or regulate our emotional state, right? Which means how angry we are. For this, an exercise that helps me is what I call when I think of, put the name, I feel, verbalize the emotion. So let me give you an example. Let's say a workplace example, and I'm working with Adam. Before I approach Adam, I will go something like, when I think of Adam, I feel upset. Right, so I've identified the emotion. The next thing I want to do is to find out how intense is my upsetness with Adam. So I want to go something like, I'm probably a 7 out of 10 when it comes to being upset with Adam, and it is because, now it is important for you to list out your because this helps your brain to make sense of your current state. And because we look at emotion as an indicator, it makes us to be very open to having this conversation with ourselves in a way that we don't feel we are good or bad. What happens if my emotion towards Adam is intense? Let's say 7 or 8. Now, I would recommend in such situation that I talk to someone. So let's say I go to another friend and I will in a way complain about Adam, and what I'm doing now is I'm releasing the pressure valve of my emotion. Remember we talked about emotion as a pressure cooker? So I'm actually releasing it. And what this does, it makes me cool down. And we all would agree whenever we are cooled down that we will be more in control of what we say, right? So this helps us with removing the harsh words. So that's step 1. Now, step 2 is about being comfortable acting angry. So there's a bit of dramatization, and what this means is we want to put on a show, so to speak. Our body language, our verbal, our choices of words, our tonality has to mimic the act of someone angry. And the reason we do that is because it is for the benefit of the person, so that it registers in them an intense emotional experience. The third thing we want to do is to communicate our positive intention and the benefit of the session, or what we call the scolding session, to the person that we are being angry with. This is important because the studies on the brain have shown our brain has a desire to make sense of every situation around us. It is to answer the why. This is where I would probably say something to Adam, things like, "Adam, you're really frustrating me with this. I got you involved in this project because I know you can deliver. In case you didn't realize, this project has high visibility. So if you do it well, people will take notice of you." So that's the benefit to Adam, right? Now, some of you may ask me, "Isaac, aren't you manipulating the situation because at the end of the day, you want him to do so that you get your job done?" Now, the reality of the situation in a work context or even in anything that we do, there are this thing called mutual benefit, which means if the project or the task is done, the person will benefit, you benefit. In this situation, what we are doing is to help him to process the whole experience as a positive experience, and therefore we are amplifying the benefits on their end. That's what we are doing. I hope this is helpful to you to be able to be angry before you are really angry, so that you are able to get the results of anger but yet not say hurtful things, because at the end of the day, hurtful things does affect relationship. Now, if you want to know a bit more details, please reach out to me. I will share with you because I have used this method over and over again and it has been helpful. And the leaders I work with has found it to be extremely beneficial because it helps them to stay cool and gain the respect of their colleagues. With that, see you in my next video. Bye.